Welcome back to a little blog episode again. We've been working on these bathroom cabinets, so there's one and two going either side of the door lining. I'm going to be making a door lining as well, so that'll be on the channel hopefully in the next few videos. We've got these ready now to a point that they're ready for finishing. The customer's going to finish the oak and they're away on holiday, so I'm going to disassemble all this, get all the painted bits sprayed and stuff in this video. But this has just turned up this morning, really quick service from Woodworking. They've sent the spare part. I've added the bits of tape because I'm not going to fit this yet, so I just covered the airlines up. But this is the spare part for the belt sander that went wrong the other day. So I'm going to swap them over and use the new part on here and then box this one up as like a get me out of jail spare. Probably an hour of downtime just working on that machine now, where I'm not earning any money. Which is probably one of the reasons amongst many other overheads why people don't have woodworking shops as a commercial entity compared to like the one-man banders that can go out and earn like a really good day's wages with a van and like maybe 5 or 10 grand with the power tools and a van. You can earn as much money as you can in a workshop that takes you decades to set up and costs you an absolute fortune in overheads. Like I say, the customer is going to be physically doing the finishing process of these, but I'm just going to bring them down to ready for finishing. So sanding with the orbital sander, random orbit sander. Really recommend these Metabo ones. They're dead cheap. Absolutely fantastic sander. The first one I had lasted 17 years. It's still going. I've just upgraded it because it's burning through brushes really quickly. But yeah, sanding with that random orbit, 150 grit, taking all the sharp edges off, just making sure everything's absolutely perfect and ready to go. And then the same with the cupboards, disassembling them, keeping all the screws to one side, and then just sanding with that 150 grit on the faces and the back of the face frame, and all the carcass internals ready for that first layer of paint. Just giving this little turntable a bit of a refresh in the workshop, built up with paint. But it's very simple. It's just an old hub from a trailer, like a wheel bearing. George welded it to a bit of a box section and put a couple of legs on it. And then I've got a couple of them, one with a flat table, and then one I've just very crudely, very simply added some battens to with some holes on. And you can sort of set them up for your face frame, so you can spray your face frames nice and flat. But they're not sat on a table, so they don't sit in any paint. It's about 5 or 6 years old now, and it sits outside, and it works every time I need it, so I've never upgraded it. Just use some 8mm bolts with a nut bound on it to stop it so it sticks above the surface, and then a little rubberised furniture bumper on the top. Masking tape around the edges so that when it gets covered in paint it's really easy to clean it off. And then I can adjust them based on what size door or frame I'm using to wherever I need it, and it doesn't get affected by whether this gets sprayed or not. If this is covered in paint, it doesn't matter because I can still move it about. It's a really good little system. So I set that roughly to what I think my frame's going to be, or I can measure it and drop it on in place. When that first coat's dry, just going over with a light D-nib with a 320 grit foam backed pad to take off any nibs and high spots. I'm not going too aggressive with this first sanding, or you undo all the work that first coat has done, which is locking in that wood grain and preventing it from rising. If you sand through that layer of paint back to the wood in any places, the subsequent coat of paint will raise the grain again, and you require more sanding. You kind of get back to stage one every time. So this first sort of check over, just an assessment, do any bits of fillering that need doing, and just a very gentle sand over each piece. Then we're going to put 2 more layers of paint on top of that to build up the thickness of paint, sand it back, then come in with our final brush coat. It's What a skilled job to get all of that flat rail sanded without taking too much paint off of the two edges as the sander sort of brushes over them parts. I'll show you what I mean by now. So I achieve it by sort of having the centre of the piece of timber as a resting point. Think of that as the part that is really difficult to sand through because it's nice and thick, and your edges are your really delicate part of your piece of timber. So you start your sander in the resting point and then work up to the edge, and you just sort of, you're not going to the edge and holding it there, you're working over it so you can visually see as you approach it every time how much more sanding you need to do before you get to that perfect sand. And once you've achieved what you want, you've got to stop immediately there, not sand any further to that point, because you're going to risk going through the paint back to the timber. That's pretty disastrous if you want a perfect finish. So this door, for example, is really easy to sand the surfaces of the top of the door, but this bit in the middle, because it's so small, can't get my sander in there, that's going to take me a long time to sand all them by hand, because this is enamel paint that I'm sanding back to a flat finish, and it's really hard work. These are the first few bits to be finished out of the spray booth with that brush coat ran through them. It's just the perfect brush coated finish. There's no imperfections in it whatsoever, and it is a really high quality, high-end furniture finish. I had to put the paper here to get the camera to focus and turn the lights off because it was playing all sorts of havoc with the natural light there. But yeah, these are the first bits to come through. Doors take a little bit longer because you have to do one side at a time, so there's obviously twice as much work in the doors and the frames. But it's really handy having that container storage facility. You can stack them out of the way because these are not going to be fitted for quite a few weeks yet. So you'll see the assembled and finished result when I get round to doing that, which is going to be dictated by the customer finishing the oak part of the shelving, which they wanted to do themselves. So I will report back on the channel when everything's in order and probably be fitting these and filming that process as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you shortly on the channel.